All right, this episode of Bowks Talking Bouts brought to you by Sovereign Extracts. You can get some great CBD oils from them, a variety of THC, CBD, hybrid cartridges, great product there. But also shout out to USG Canada, putting out great apparel for boxers, MMA fighters, and for fans alike. We've got a big fight coming up. It goes at the UFC Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada. We have UFC Fight Night going on August the 29th. It's a strawweight collision between Hannah Cifers and Mallory Martin. And I've got Mallory on the show right now. How's your day going so far there, Mallory?
It's been good. Got all my training in, so now I'm just relaxing for the rest of the day.
Yeah, and what does training look like ahead of this one? Like, have you had to, pivot a fair bit and make certain adjustments just with like the global pandemic and certain COVID considerations? Like, I imagine this specific camp hasn't necessarily been a normative one, like as compared to some past ones. Is that a fair characterization?
Yeah, for the most part, it's been about the same. Like my gym, they've made like different accommodations for us, but the where I do my strength and conditioning, Lando's, they opened back up, so fighters are able to get in there. And then the training, we used to have it like just a whole team training, and they split it into two now. So it's like any fighter who's, I think it's 180 and below, they train at 1 o'clock now, and then the heavyweights 185 and above, and the females train at 2. So instead of it being like a huge group of like 30 of us, it's more of like split, where it's it's better. I think I like it this way, and like they've talked about keeping it this way because it's more individual like training, and it's not such a huge group with so many people in the place at once. So like, yeah, it's been hard to adjust to, but I feel like everybody's adjusted well, and everybody kind of likes it how it is now.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely understand the benefits there. Is the work still going on with Elevation Fight Team ahead of this one here?
Yeah.
That's awesome. So who are like the main sparring partners then that you're getting in work with ahead of this particular one? Like, how does all of that go there?
So recently, well, it's mainly been, we have a huge girls team there. So right now it's me, Shana, she's also fighting the week before me. And then Montana, she fights the week after me. So us three are in camp. And then we have a bunch of other females like who are still kind of amateur and pro. And it's been like Claire, my other teammate Emma, and then Shana, Montana, and a few other couple girls.
That's awesome. There must be like a great collective sentiment in the gym, just everybody inspiring everybody. Like, as much as MMA is an individual competition once you're out there, I imagine there's like a great feeling in the room, just everyone like bolstering each other's, skill set and everything leading into like big fights.
Yeah, 100%. And it's cool to be all in camp at once, so we're all kind of going through all of it together.
Yeah, great team there for sure, but I've also seen you do some cross training a little bit in the past too, like at AKA and working with Cynthia Calvillo and stuff like that. I imagine the cross training has kind of had been put on the back burner a little bit with all of the COVID stuff, or have you been able to kind of get in some cross training work a little bit?
No, not recently. I go back and forth, so I live kind of in Colorado and California. So when I'm out in California, I am training at AKA, and Cynthia's a beast, man, so I love training with her, and she's a good friend of mine. But yeah, so when I'm out here, I'm with Team Elevation, and yeah, I've been in camp for about 2 months now, so just been staying out here and grinding out here with them.
Yeah, you talk about Cynthia Calvillo being a beast for sure, and that's a sentiment I agree with, but it seems like you can get pretty intense out there sometimes too. Like, I was seeing the Tiffany Masters fight where you were getting pretty intense there at certain parts. Like, where does that come from? Is that like an important cathartic release in the fight itself for you? I mean, like, where does that come from? Because I've also seen certain fights too where you're saying Happy Halloween and you're like slicing people up with elbows, and I'm like, oh, this is terrifying.
Yeah, I think it just comes from my visualization. Like, I feel like visualizing is a huge part of my game, and using my mental aspect of it. But I do a lot of visualization, and I don't know, for whatever reason, during these fight camps, I visualize like saying that to them. And so I mean it like no disrespect to them or anything like that. It's just like heat in the moment, and I'm just literally living in the moment. And I've seen this happen so many times in my head, and now I'm here in real life doing it, So it just kind of comes out. It's passion, I don't know how to explain it.
No, and that was the sentiment I got for sure. I didn't think it was disrespectful in any kind of way. Just like you put in a ton of work to what you're doing and everything, and the adrenaline out there and everything. And it's cool you mentioned the visualization aspect. Like, is there certain work you do in that regard, like in terms of like sports psychology or like reading particular books? Like, how do you go about training like the mental end of things, if at all?
Yeah, I've read a couple really good books. I'm reading a book right now. It's called, what is it called? Um, the Mentality of an Athlete or something like that. I can't remember it, but it talks about like just being able to like control yourself, basically, and teaches you how to use visualization as a tool to prepare and rehearse your mind for a competition. So I do it daily. I don't like really, I do set a timer, but if I go longer, then I go longer. Or if I'm running, then that's when I'll do my visualization. Or if I'm in like an ice bath, then I'll do it then, So, but if I'm not running or doing that day, I'll just set a timer for like 20 minutes and then lay down with my eyes closed, and then I just kind of rehearse what fight night's going to look like in my head. So I start from warming up in the back, waiting to get my name called, walking out, getting greased up, saying bye to my coaches, like stepping in the cage, running around the cage, and then fight starts, and then I visualize what happens in the fight. And so then when I get to the fight, it's like, oh, I've already been here. I already know what to do. All I have to do is get inside the cage, shut the door, and I'm ready to go.
Definitely understand the utility of that for sure. So I'm curious, like in the sense of, have you formed a similar kind of, dynamic there heading into this Hannah Cifers fight here? Is this something that'll eventually settle in like a couple weeks out from the fight? Like, where are you at in that regard? Like, do you have like a mapped out kind of thing in your mind of how this fight is gonna unfold, or just because we're a few weeks out, maybe not quite as of yet?
No, I already know. What to expect from her, and I already know what I'm going to do. So I don't really play too much in her game or whatever she's gonna do, because I already know so strongly what I'm gonna do. And it's just rehearsal until then. I just keep rehearsing it inside my mind, and obviously outside in the gym, I'm doing the same techniques that I'm visualizing until fight night. And then when I get in, I feel like in the zone, I guess you could say, and just completely comfortable to do what I envisioned and do as I trained as well.
Yeah, definitely get focusing on your own efforts so you can be optimally prepared out there. But what are your thoughts on Hannah Cifers' skill set overall? Like, what do you think she brings to the table?
I think she brings to the table is she's fought tough competitors. She's fought some big names, so that's obviously a plus. I think I'm going to have a really advantage on like just fight IQ. And yeah, I don't know. I expect she's going to come out fast. She kind of slows down in the later rounds, so I expect her to kind of blitz forward, come out fast, and then kind of die off. But, it doesn't matter. I'm going to go out there and play my game and do what I'm going to do as I'm trained, so I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely. And you seem very cerebral, so I'm curious to kind of touch on this a little bit. Like, you're returning to the UFC Apex here. It's a year ago this month that you competed for Contender Series, and yeah, I mean it's working out in a pretty like cinematic kind of way almost. I remember I saw a post you had there back then where you're talking about how you were at a loss for words, not necessarily understanding how the UFC contract didn't then come to fruition after, such a dominant performance and everything like that. Like, how does it feel like just with that kind of context at play and just returning to the UFC Apex 1 year later?
Yeah, I think it's cool. I didn't really think about that until I think like a couple days ago. But yeah, I think it's cool. It didn't really discourage me to not getting the contract because I knew like that's where I belonged and I knew it was just a matter of time. So when it came, and now I'm here and I'm ready to perform and be ready for a full camp and have a good performance and put on a good show.
Yeah, and it seemed like back then the landscape was different too. Like you'd been out, I believe, for a decent while based on some knee surgery that you had there, the ACL and
Yeah.
meniscus, I believe.
Yeah, I had my ACL repaired in November of 2018 and then recovered for the first like 6 months of 2019. And then I got cleared at 6 months and then jumped into a camp and I fought, I think it was like a couple days before my 9 month out from surgery. So I fought 9 months out from surgery and then, yeah, on the Contender Series. So that was pretty cool to come back from a injury and fight in front of the Dana White for the contract. So I thought that was really cool.
Oh, definitely, and cool to see where you're at now and everything like that. But I'm kind of curious, like what you were able to learn from your last fight there, getting in there with a very tenured opponent in Verna Jandaroba. Obviously, the outcome not going the way you would want it to. But what was it that you learned from that particular performance that you think you'll be able to apply to this next fight here?
I think more patience. I think I could have done a lot better in that fight if I had a better strategy. I was too aggressive, which led her to be able to take me down super easy. So I've made that changes in my game and whatnot. So I don't. It's a tough spot because I took that fight. I think it was like 8 or 9 days notice. I was sick. I had like bronchitis, but they didn't know if it was bronchitis. I think it was the COVID because I was sick for like 3 months. But yeah, so I don't want to like that's all excuses and whatnot. But I still learned from that fight a lot, and I had a lot of adversity in that fight. So that's really cool that I kind of came through it after that adversity. Um, yeah, and it's not always you're not always gonna get the cards you're dealt. I probably would have never fought her maybe like 4 or 5 fights into the UFC, but I took that challenge on 9 days notice and then learned from it, and grew as a fighter. So I'm excited and ready to get back in the cage and actually show like my potential and my skill.
Yeah, absolutely. And getting back out there, you have a chance to get that first UFC win. Like, do you allocate a lot of importance to something like that? Is it kind of just like, a promotional banner is a promotional banner? Like, would you weight that, I guess, any differently than some of your prior wins in Invicta FC or LFA, for instance, getting that first UFC W?
I think after the fight and after I win, I will be like, oh shit, like that's cool, like. But right now, it's nothing more than just a fight. It doesn't matter if it's for the UFC. It doesn't matter if it was for Invicta. It's still a fight. Um, and that's how I kind of look at it going forward, so that I'm not like making it a bigger deal than it is. If that makes any sense.
Oh, yeah, I completely get where you're coming from. You got to just focus on the task at hand. No sense adding on a bunch of like extra stuff to the side there. But, just being mindful of your time here and getting towards the end of the convo here. Like, I'm kind of curious, like, what music you train to when you're in the gym there. It seems like you're a pretty big Cardi B fan from what I was able to tell, but what's usually bumping in the gym there?
Oh, I love Cardi B. But I've been listening to a lot of Russ. Do you know Russ?
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, he's been like on my playlist almost every day. So
Do you usually get the aux cord when you're at the gym there, or do you more so mean like to and from practice, jamming kind of thing?
yeah, to and from practice, the coaches, they control the music, so it's kind of hard for you to, unless you're like, hey man, I want to listen to this today, so you just kind of let them play what they play and then go with the flow.
Oh, that's cool that you're able to go with the flow though, and just whoever's jamming whatever on the aux cord is cool with you.
Yeah.
No, it's a good way to be for sure, but I'm kind of curious too, just to the prior point of, being mindful of your time. Like, is there anything you'd like to add as a parting thought as we're kind of wrapping up here, Mallory?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think so. Just thanks to my team, my manager, everybody that believes in me and supports me.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you making some time ahead of this fight here, and it's going on my birthday here, so I'm going to be excited watching all these UFC fights. Yeah, it kind of worked out in that regard. UFC Apex, it goes August the 29th. A great strawweight tilt is on the docket between Hannah Cifers and Mallory Martin. Thanks for all the great insights and for the time there, Mallory. Best of luck with the remaining part of the preparations, and yeah, just you enjoy the rest of your night too.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.